turned the one on behind me I didn't want it on. Good evening. Hey, Greg. Hi, Dan. Hi, Tim. Hi, Eve. Hey, Derek. Hey, Evelyn. Hey, Graham. Hi, Della. How's Evelyn tonight? Evening. Hi, Barbara. Hey, Dick. What's new, Greg? Hi, Don. Hey, Wesley. Hey, Ron. Hey, Janice. Hey, Glenda. Hey, Clarence. Hey, Matthew. Chuckles. Hey, David. Well, thank you, Ron. Hey, Kate. Yes, I did. Thank you very much for the maple syrup. It's always a big hit out here. We don't get much of it. Hey, Richard. Thank you very much, Evelyn. Every once in a while somebody says me a treat, and that one's a pretty good one. Hey, Harry. Not bad, Tim, not bad. Finally good reception, eh? You're not out in the desert, eh, Chuckles? Anyway, we've got quite a few on. I guess we can get started. Neil Dimmick here, of course. We do this chat. Try to do it every Sunday night. Yeah, it certainly was. We try and do it every Sunday night. Now that the weather's getting nicer, we're going to try and start going out to the barn and doing some chats from out there. Excuse me. We got some stuff that Brian wants to show you guys on horse massage, equine therapy. Hi, Rita. How are you? Still putting up a Chuck, I see. Hey, Steve. Hi, Tracy. Yeah, we'll be going down to the barn and doing some stuff, showing some more practical, hands-on kind of stuff. But that'll be starting here next week, providing the weather's still pretty decent. And the mud starts to drop. Right now, we got mud. mud everywhere. Anyway, one of the ones we want to discuss is the brakes of a wagon. And that's your breeching. Good evening, Judy. Hi, Randy. Hey, Curtis. Hey, Gallon. Anyway, the brakes of the wagon is the breeching. And the one we're going to discuss tonight is Western breeching harness. And I'll give it a bit of a flip here. This is your typical Western breeching harness. It's got two straps here, back straps or kidney straps is a common name for them. There's your back pad. And this is usually your hip drop or tug hanger strap. And this is your rich and drop straps. And that's your Western breeching. The object of this style of breeching isn't like a twin neck yoke. It isn't so that everything pulls on this seat. It's the whole thing is to work like a basket. So when the quarter strap goes underneath here, underneath the horse here, it pulls on these straps at about 30% and about 70% on this strap. But the whole thing works like a basket. A basket with a hole in it, but works like a basket. So to connect this to the front of the horse or pole where the neck yoke is, you need quarter straps and pole straps. And there's a few different ways of connecting them. This is one of the more traditional styles. It has two quarter straps They go up and underneath the horse, and then a long pole strap, or martingale is another name for it. And then they have a breast strap, right? So the job for the quarter straps is to connect the britch and seat, right, to the pole strap, martingale slash. On this part here, the martingale, its only job is to hold back the wagon. That's all it does. When the wagon stops, it pulls on this strap here, which pulls on these two straps, which pulls on the britch and seat. Now, over time, of course, people get kind of lazy, so they like to use these combination snaps. Because with this one here, you would have to thread this over your neck yoke, and that's a bit time consuming. So instead of threading this through the ring and this over the neck yoke, they started out by using this snap. I use these a lot, and that snaps into the neck yoke instead of threading through, but you still had to thread the martingale over. Now my martingales all hang from the collar. I can show you pictures of that here in a bit. But the most common one used today is this one here. It's called the combination snap, and it has the pole strap slash martingale attached right to this snap. Hello, Christine. And then the breast strap is attached to the collars, of course. So anyway, when the wagon rolls ahead, the neck yoke pulls on here. That pulls on these two, which is attached to the britch and seat. That is your only effective brakes on a harness. That holds back the whole load. It's the only thing that should hold back the whole load. If it's not adjusted properly though, you most certainly can't hold back the load. I have some pictures here of how to adjust it properly. This one here, I printed out many pictures on this one. And it's called the point of your hock to the top of your dock. And the dock is where the tail hairs first start coming out. So it's all normal body hair here, and then right there's tail hair. So you measure from there down to this point here, and then this britch and seat should lie just above half. So halfway would be right at the bottom of this britch and seat, and it would be just above it, would be where it is. And that'll put your britch and seat in the best position for most horses. If it gets too low down here, when you get going downhill, it wants to scoop their bum out, or their legs out. And if it gets too high, it starts to get past the round part of the butt, and if you get into a long load, it'll actually creep up and hit like a crooper. And if it's too loose, then it's not doing anything at all. Here's those quarter straps. That's these ones up here, right? Here they are here. And they attach to that martingale pole strap that goes through the front legs here. That's this strap here. So to adjust this properly, this should be just above halfway. Then you measure or mark out these and adjust these drop straps so that it holds the britch and seat level with the horse. The britch and seat isn't supposed to be on an angle like so or up like an angle like so. It's supposed to be mostly level, as close as you can. Don't just assume, because if it's a leather harness, in the same hole means it's the same length, because leather can be stretched. Who knows? Some kid that was helping dad make harness that day punched a hole in the wrong place or whatever. Else, it might not be the same length. So take a measuring stick or a string or anything, make sure they're all the same length. But adjust it so this britch and seat sits level. And that'll make that basket effect, right? Okay, the most wrongly adjusted part of that whole britch and seat is this front part. Now, in order for this pole strap to work properly, it has to come straight out from underneath the horse. If it curls up like so, when you put pressure on the neck yoke going this way, it's going to pull down on the top of the collar, because this strap's going to want to come straight. Anytime you pull on anything, it wants to straighten out. So you throw a rope on the ground and pull on it, and it'll straighten right out a long straight rope. That's the same as this thing. If you pull on it, it's going to want to try and straighten out. So if you have it so it's set so it curls way up, it's going to want to pull down on the top of the collar, and then over time it'll make a sore up here. You can watch it when it's poorly adjusted and you stop with a big load. It'll actually see the collar dip down into the neck right up here. So the rule of thumb is this should more or less come out flat. Now, not all horses are built perfect and the same, but as close as you can to get it to come out flat out from underneath, right? And then the breast strap, its only job is to hold up the neck yoke. So if you stop and you're facing downhill and you get around front and you pull on the straps and this one is loose and this one's string tight, then this is the strap stopping the wagon, not this one. But this is the only one connected to the britchin. Right? So in order for that britchin to be effective and useful, when the wagon stops, all the tension from the stopping should go on this strap, not on this one. So if you get out when you're facing downhill and pick up on the end of your pole, this strap should come loose instantly. And this one should remain tight. If you get out and facing downhill and you pick up on the end of that pole and this strap comes loose and this strap comes loose instantly, then you know that all half the weight is going up onto the collar. And if you pick up on it and this strap still don't come loose, but this one starts to flop, then you know all the weight of that collar, or all the weight stopping it, is on that collar. Now, this is one of the most misadjusted. When I've seen them so that this one here is so loose it's actually drooping, and I have pictures of it, and I hope if you recognize this as your harness, because it's the pictures I've just stole off the net. Right? Now this one is your classic properly adjusted. This is a picture from 1900s, 1800s. See how the martingale underneath here mostly comes flat out, and how the breast strap is nice and long, so that strap can do that. In order for this strap here to come out flat, you got to lengthen and shorten this one. To make this one run flat, you got to make this one longer or shorter. It's not supposed to curl down. It's not supposed to curl up. It should mostly be flat. So you adjust this strap height by using this one called the breast strap. Now, your breast strap should lay in line with your hames or slightly ahead. So here's the line of your hames here. That breast strap should be either in line or slightly ahead. Now, if you have some high stepping horses, you might want to be ahead more. So say if your line was lined up, you'd want it to be that much ahead. If you got pretty common walking horses, in line with the hames isn't bad. But on average, they're going to be just slightly ahead. So you line your hames up like so, and you can see that gap, right? To adjust that, to move your breast strap in and back and forth this way, to get it to line up here, you make this longer or shorter, or the quarter straps, whichever happens to be easier and more suitable to work with. So it makes this part longer to move this forward, and you make this part shorter to move this part backwards. Now, I've had guys go, well, if I hook all this up and I get the pole gets way down. Well, it doesn't really matter. You don't misadjust the harness to figure out a pole should be up higher or not. So this is your pole on the top of this ruler. And most guys want to see their pole coming up on an angle like that, which doesn't really work, because if you're stopping a load and you have that, it's going to want to pull up like so instead of just push back. If you can get your pole close to level, like so, when the load comes on and it starts to push back, it's just going to want to push back, not up. If you have your pole running up and you set a load, it's going to want to lift up, not hold the wagon. So the horse has to do extra work to hold that wagon back. But that said, you don't want to misadjust this part to get this pole to lay in a specific spot. Now, this is for your average wagon driving. This isn't for plowing or mowing or anything like that. If you're mowing and you want your mower pole to be at a certain height so that your cutting bar lines up and cuts on the ground smooth, you can shorten this up. But you're not holding nothing. Hi, Dan. Holding nothing back with a mower. Hi, Fred. You're not holding nothing back for on a mower, and with a plow, you don't want the pole to wiggle. If it's loose and set up like this, the pole could have a tendency to wiggle some. When a plow does that, it'll steer your front wheel and it'll make crooked furrows. So you shorten it right up. But for wagon driving, right, you got big loads to hold back in hill. Hi, Dusty. So you want to adjust this so that it lays pretty much flat, and then this is just in line or slightly ahead. like I say, if you look back in the old pictures, you can see a lot of them adjusted just that such. If you look at this one, there's your martingale coming out pretty much dead flat, and there's your breast strap. The breast strap shouldn't be looking pulled tight because, oh, its job is to hold the pole up. It isn't designed to hold back the load. I have thousands of pictures of this harness adjustment. And you want to really know how harness adjusted, go back to the 1800s. Not to the 1960s or 70s when they were using a truck more than a horse. So here's a picture that's been redrawed that shows a Simpson Sears harness that was for sale. Once again, notice the martingale pretty much comes flat out from underneath the horse, goes around the neck yoke, and then it has a carry strap that stays with the collar. So when you undo your quarter straps and you hang up your collar, your martingale pole strap gizmo stays right with the collar the whole time. And once again, you can see that the breast strap, right, if I can get it up, breast strap is just in line with the hames or just slightly ahead. In line with the hames or just slightly ahead. So that's a pretty good demonstration picture, that one.
Kate had a question. Where is a good spot for the end of the pole strap to sit? You set the horse where it connects to the quarter straps, or closer to the belly band, or closer to the breeching?
Oh, Kate. Okay, I'll get back to you on that one in just a minute, Kate. When I get through this, Kate, I'll get back to you on the quarter strap and pole strap thing. Okay, now, this is just one picture as an example of poorly adjusted, hi Larry, martingale pole strap. Now, see how loose that thing is? And see how short the breast strap is? Now, this had a fair size wagon on behind it. If you stop this rig, is it gonna, any of it hit the breeching seat with a pole strap that long? It would have to pull way out past the end of the picture before it tightened up, right? So that ain't gonna work. And that one was at a clinic that was being taught. Here's the most common looking adjustment on a lot of them. Short breast straps, combination snap, pole strap coming up and going up towards the front of the horse, right? So if you pull on here straight forward, you can just see it right here. If you pulled straight forward, you're going to pull on here and there. And this is going to want to come straight because you're pulling on anything that wants to go straight. So it'll add extra pressure to the top of the neck. Now this was set, right, for driving as a team on the lead of a 6-horse hitch in the rain. So what we do when we're driving with a team, we shorten these right up. And you can do this when you're doing a mower or plow too. You can shorten them right up so they're not wiggling and flopping around. But when we're driving with this type, combination snap, right? If you're driving, ground driving or logging or whatever, and you leave this adjusted properly, your quarter straps will be pretty droopy and they'll have a tendency to want to put their foot over. So when we're driving them in the lead of a 6 or 4, or we're doing some logging with them, or if we're pulling a plow or mower or dump rake that doesn't need to hold back anything, but the pole needs to be set at a certain height, then we adjust it. That's why they have buckles on these, right? And that's why there's holes in it, so you can adjust it. It's easy to adjust. You just pull that and slide her down and tighten it back up. No big deal. So that's how most are adjusted, and that's how most of them don't work very effectively for a wagon. It's okay for plowing or logging or whatever, like I said, but not so good when you're trying to hold back a whole wagon load of people. Now, where's that other one? Here's another adjustment here. This guy, I can't even go into all the troubles I see in this one, like the breeching seat's way out of whack. His breast strap is so short that the pole runs uphill, yet he has a lead team hooked onto that, and the dry and the draft is way down here. So when the lead team tightens up, they're pulling down on the pole. So not only they're trying to hold up or hold the wagon back with this all being misadjusted, so they're holding back that with the neck, they're also got these guys when they're pulling down on the collar. And if you look, you can see the collar's pulled down into that horse's neck. See the line of the hair? And it goes up here and the collar's yanked right down and then the line of hair behind it. That will cause you a sore neck in no time. So if you're going to do something like this and you want to drive 4 up, lengthen your breast straps out. We a lot of times have an extra snap that hangs right here. And when we want to do stuff that's extra long, we just poke it and snap it into that and then snap it back up in there. If you look at a lot of my harness pictures, you'll see that extra one on there. Here's one of the bays going through deep water, right? And they're adjusted so they're right length. The breast strap or martingale's pretty much coming straight out. You can't see the breast strap at an angle here, but not all horses are going to have a big, long breast strap like the guys in this one picture. Wherever that one went. This one. Right? Not all horses are built so they need this one that long, but a lot of them are. These guys are fairly short-chested, so they can have that, and it goes out to the pole. Some guys complain that martingale doesn't like to stay on the end of the neck yoke with the two-piece pole strap or whatever. True enough, it doesn't always stay perfect. Okay, so we'll go back to Kate's question on quarter straps. I'll get you to hold this for a minute. I'm going to do some drawing. Okay. So quarter straps and pole straps. Where did my thing go? There it is. Okay, these are your quarter straps, and the reason they call them quarter straps is they go under the hind quarters. Where's the paper? That's them ones right here, and they go under the hind quarters, so they call them quarter straps. This is called a pole strap because it's actually connects to the pole at some fashion or not with a neck yoke. The neck yoke goes in like so across here. It's also called a martingale, which is an old term. I'm not exactly sure where it comes from, but everybody has their own theories. Now, when it comes to adjusting these, the quarter straps and the pole strap, right, as long as you get that angle up here, right, that's okay, right? You got to have this angle proper, right? But you can have this piece adjusted long and these quarter straps adjusted short, or you can have these adjusted long and the pole strap adjusted short. Now, quite often in the new harnesses, they have this part here is stitched open long, right? So the belly band can slip through here, right? So it'll have an extra long piece right here where the D-ring is stitched in and the belly band can go through there. If you put your belly band through there, it's supposedly a safety thing that if you broke a quarter strap or anything in your harness or britchin broke, you know, they would catch the load and hold it back with the belly band. And yes, that works. It's not perfect, but it saves having your wagon run over your horse on a big hill, right? So right here where the D-ring is, right, they'd have it stitched loose right here and you'd have a loop. The trouble with that one is, if you have long quarter straps, so your quarter straps go out to here, right, instead of back short here, when they swipe at a fly with their foot, that motion where they do this, if it's a long quarter strap, they could get their foot over it, right? And it happened a few times to us. And Grandpa come along and said, well, you dummy. He said, don't you know you're not supposed to have quarter straps that long? I said, I didn't know. Nobody said nothing. I thought I was supposed to run the belly band through there. No, he says. Short quarter straps, long martingales are what I prefer. Now, instead of going through the D-ring here, when we were hauling lots of people in big hills down at Cypress Hills Park, Dad and I would rivet on another piece that went from here around and up and over into here. We'd rivet a piece right on in here. So we could still have that safety that you would have from this folded over part of the D-ring. And it was a wide piece. It wasn't just a little wee skinny strap like you would see up here on the tug. It was a fairly wide piece, right? And it still gave us that comfort that if anything here failed, we still had the Surcingle belly band back pad set up to help hold us back. So for me, in fly time especially, I like short quarter straps, long martingale pole straps. That way, if a horse swings his foot, just get a fly off his belly, you don't put his foot over it. And if you use the combination snap, where the martingale goes up to here instead of to here. When you're unhooked, because this will be extra long, it'll droop back and all this stuff will come loose, right? And they'll still get their foot over it. If you have this here, it'll droop back to here and this will get a little loose, but this won't drop down and it keeps it into place as well. So I found it an extra bonus, and a lot of my harnesses have that. We don't always use it because when we're driving on wagons or stuff all the time, it is important. But if we have them on when we're harrowing and whatnot and we don't have poles, then we'll always like to have them. Or if we got to drive, especially if we got a combination snap and we got to drive quite a ways to hook onto the whatever we're hooking onto, it's nice to have them because it keeps this all kind of snugged up. I hope that answers your question on that one, Katie. What else is there?
Kelly, does the belly band go under or over the pole straps?
Usually the belly band goes on top of the pole strap. So you take your belly band when you're harnessing, you grab your belly band like so, and you throw your pole strap martingale on top, and then you buckle it up. The reason for that is if anything comes loose here, it doesn't droop right down and get their foot over it. It keeps it tucked up a little better. And it doesn't, if you're going down a long hill and it's pushing up on that belly band, it can make a bit of a sore on the bottom of the chest after a couple of days. Any other questions? I know this is for Western breeching harness only. This adjustment. There is other adjustments for the Yankee breeching, and it doesn't change a lot, the Yankee breeching. Instead of having all this apparatus, right? I mean, the Western breeching puts a pressure like so from the bum, right? But the Yankee breeching is just, instead of having all this apparatus, has a strap and a crooper, right? And then it'll have a strap that comes down to here, and it'll be fairly wide here, and then narrow down to a quarter strap here. So the pressure is still in that direction. So, you know, somebody asked me what my favorite is out of the two. Well, I find Western breeching allows me to drive single or whatever I want. So it's more versatile to me. But do I have Yankee breeching? Yes. Do I use it? Yes. I find it very nice and it's handy and it's light for, you know, smaller teams and stuff. Works very well. But I mean, once you pass that point with that Yankee breeching, then all of this is the same.
How much slack do you put in the quarter straps?
Well, it's not so much slack as you adjust your quarter straps and pole strap out to the length to get this adjustment here. So you use the adjusters on your pole strap. Yeah, let's see if I can get this a little more organized. Use the adjusters on your pole strap, and your pole strap has a buckle here, right? And your buckles on your quarter strap here, back here, to move this out and forward until you get that lined up. If your horse is standing and not hooked to nothing and there's a bit of a droop to all that stuff, that's okay. It means nothing. This adjustment, once you're hooked up and you're leaning back on your bitching seat and you get all this adjusted just right, that's what you're looking for, right? So guys that are using teams on carriages that are constantly stopping and starting or having trouble with sores in the top of their neck, this will help alleviate that by about 90%. Because if you get them stopping on the bum, that's a lot more surface area, that skin there, to stop the wagon than just the top of that neck.
Does the combo snap need any kind of attachment for extra safety?
Not so much the combo snap, but the one thing I did notice, you want to grab me one from over there, Kim? There's one sitting there in the harness pile. I've got piles of buckles and snaps, and there was one laying on the ground there, I think, over by the toolbox. The combination snap has one bit of a fault to it, and I don't know, it's one that bothers me a little because I've seen them fail over the years. Let's see if I can find the picture with the combination snap. It's a brass one, I think, Kim. There we go. The one thing that bothers me about the combination snap is the bolt that goes through here, right? So here, if you're looking down from the top, here's your combination snap from the top, right? And there's two slots in it here for your breast strap to go through. And there's two horns that come back like so. And there's a bolt that goes through that. And then your pole strap martingale goes through here. The one thing that bothers me is that's just a skinny little 5/16 quarter-inch bolt. So you're holding back 7,000 pounds on a wagon with just that skinny little bolt. And I broke them a couple times. So in the hills, or when I'm hauling people, I much prefer this system here, because this whole strap here goes around the neck yoke. And it's usually, I don't have Conways, I have buckles here. So even if it failed, all it would do is choke tight around the martingale. The strap couldn't get pulled out, right? And same with my snaps here. I always go with a little heavier stuff and make sure I get good buckles and all that. But that whole system here, with good snaps and all that, but all of that goes down to that one little skinny combination snap. Yep. I just dropped this. There it is. There's that little itty bitty bolt. It went down there yet. That little itty bitty bolt that holds that whole shooting match back. One little itty bitty, I think it's 5/16, quarter inch, something like that. Right? So, trust it at your own free will. Do a lot of people get by with them and never have a problem? Yes, for sure. A lot of people never wear seatbelts and never have a problem either, you know. But you go driving into the city, and I ain't long, and I'm reaching for over my shoulder to put it on.
Kellyanne was saying she saw some people tape them.
Yeah, you can tape them, Kellyanne, if you're worried about a horse snapping into that snap there with his bridle or whatever. But yeah, if you've got to snap it to keep it attached to the neck yoke, throw it away and put a new one on. Anytime any of this stuff here gets faulty, say this snap doesn't want to close properly or whatever, throw it away and put a new one on. Just don't take chances. You can buy this whole new piece here, or you can buy the whole snap. Okay, the whole snap I think is $30. This piece here I think is $15. So why put the tape on it, you know, if it's only $15? Why not just put a new one on, right? Now I've had guys say all snaps should turn in, right? So if you have this and the pull, yeah, hang on to that. And your neck yoke's going this way, right? And your ring is going through here, right? If your snap's turned in, if a horse bumps his head down to here, bump, 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 the chance of him getting snapped in that snap is pretty unlikely. But if you have this snap turned out and your neck yoke over here, right? And your horse runs his head down here now, he's got a long space. He can go back and forth and get his bridle caught in there. Now everybody says, well, I don't let my horses rub. True enough, you don't let them rub. But fly time or whatever, right? And they will. So they go, well, you can't turn these. How would you turn that so they're both in? Well, that's what this bolt here does. You take this bolt out, right? And most of the time, most people drive the same horse on the same side, right? So this is set up for a left-hand horse, right? So you take that bolt out, right? And flip this thing over for the horse on the other side and then put it back on. I like this one has a nylock nut on it, right? It's got that little bit of plastic that helps keep it from coming undone. I found just nuts and lock washers come loose. And like this one here, this bolt here isn't even long enough to put a nut on. It's just threaded into this part here, you know, and that can come loose and you could miss it. So I don't prefer these from Burn Self, but I ain't here to demand everybody use the same equipment I use, but I found faults with these. That said, this snap here is the one I use. It's generally a little heavier built than that one, right? But it has a small bolt for the roller. It goes across the top here, for sure. But it's not holding up anything but the neck yoke. If you got it adjusted properly, this should hold your wagon back, not this. So if you're breaking these, you got a bigger problem than just a poor snap. This part here isn't adjusted properly. Now some guys like to put them on over the neck yoke. That's my preferred, right? Some of them have a snap and they snap it into the same ring as these two would go into on your neck yoke. Do I think that's a bad idea? No, I don't think it's a bad idea. Providing it's a good, healthy, strong snap, it shouldn't be any problem, right? But you got to be careful. Every time you use a snap, there's a chance you could get the thing hung up on something. But if you look at this harness here, you can see he's using them snaps right there, right? So it's not a new invention. He most certainly is doing that. He doesn't have them over the neck yoke. And that's, believe it or not, that's where that pole strap martingale is designed to lay. That's why almost every neck yoke forever has had these two grooves, is for that pole strap to lay into. Where? Hi, Carl. How are you? Did I miss any questions?
Yeah. Mike Blythe asked if we dip our harness, keep it supple and good, or if we don't use leather. If you dip, how often? Leather harness.
I have a lot of leather harness. I try to get it oiled every year. Sometimes it misses and it gets into 2 years before it gets oiled, but I try to oil it every year. And what I do is I take it, pull the straps apart, wash it with some very mild soap, saddle soap or whatever. I tried it with dish soap one time and it literally burned the leather. So that wasn't such a good thing. But as far as oiling it, yeah, I try and take it apart and wash it. Wash it and oil it every year, or if not, every 2 years at the very least. Did that help, Richard, about your snaps on the pole strap into the neck yoke ring? Yeah, they work. Just make sure you use a good heavy snap. Make sure it's turned in, not out, because if it's turned out, they can rub their bridle on and get snagged on it. Right? But it does work. And if you notice, big Jim's harness and them have that extra snap. And sometimes we're using them, sometimes we don't. Certain wagons we have, they work better if we use those snaps on the martingale. And we also teach a lot of clinic stuff. So in order for that to show, demonstrate how it works, we have to have snaps on the martingale pole strap. So I just leave them on there. I pull them down out of the way and whatever so they don't catch up on them. But any more questions? I had a horse get their Buxton bit hooked into a combo snap in a parade. Thankfully, it was a good horse. He thought about panicking, but McGrown helped save the day. Thanks for the idea about turning them in. Yeah, Cindy, turning them in is always a bonus. And when we're doing parades, that duct tape, poor man's patent leather, or black tape, electrical tape, yeah, we go through a lot of it when we're parading. We cover up snaps. We go over buckles that might catch or come undone, possibly could come undone. Anything dumb and stupid that can happen to you will happen to you in a parade in front of everybody. So the heel chains, you can do whatever you want at home. You'll never have a tug chain come undone. You go and do a parade, stop once, and you have a tug chain drop. And then, of course, everybody, oh, you got a tug chain, and they're freaking out like it's the end of the world. But you get out, hook it back up. So we tape them all. When we're doing driving with our 6-horse hitch or 8-horse hitch, and we're going flat out as hard as they can go, I'm really glad I have everything taped up extra, just to be safe. So, right on, Brian. I'm glad the bit helped. They sure work for us. I mean, some people worry about them being harsh on the mouth. I don't think it's any worse than yanking on a bar bit because they're not listening. If you can make them listen with just a pull of the finger, that's way better on their mouth than yarding on them. So, you're welcome, Jesse. That's why we do these talks, is to help out as much as we possibly can. And I hope this breast strap martingale thingy, I'll post the pictures down at the comments at the end of the chat. And you guys can use them for your reference. You can copy and save them to your own computer or whatever. But yeah, it's a constant battle, Brian, keeping that adjusted. And when you go to use it for disking or mowing or whatever, and you don't want all that stuff loose, well, then you tighten up your breast strap like I showed in the pictures there with my team. They were doing a 6-horse hitch in the middle of a smoking hot demo. Right, so we had the breast strap shortened right up, and I've had guys go, oh, you talk like you have yours adjusted, but I see this picture. Yeah, some of the pictures, they aren't adjusted like I say. If they're adjusted that way, they're usually because they're on a wagon, and they're holding back big loads, right? And I show you the old pictures, like these ones here. Like these ones here, I show you these old pictures. just to show you that I'm not puffing smoke out my ass. This is how it was actually adjusted, right? It's just not my dream up, oh, this is how it should be kind of thing. This is from studying. You want to know, you go back and look at the pictures from 1800, how they had it adjusted, right? Now, there was one other picture I had in mind. My Belgians are angels now with the militaries. Right on, Kate. I'm glad. They really do work if you use them what they're adjusted or made for, and use the adjustment for, you know, on them, and don't leave them down when they don't need to be down, but don't, you know, don't be scared to move them down if you do. What is the little D-ring on the trace at the belly band retainer? Did you see that on one of my harnesses, Richard, or in harnesses in general? I'm not sure. You'll have to give me a bigger pointer. I'm a little thick sometimes, so. On most harnesses, there's a little D-ring. Good evening, James. How are you? On a lot of harnesses, there's a little D-ring about here somewhere, right? What a lot of people used them for when they hung up their halter shanks, instead of hanging them on the hame up here, they would bring them back and run them through that D-ring and then loop them through the back pad here. Some guys use that for their decorations as well. You'd put a kidney drop up here that would hang down and tie off to that D-ring. So it has multiple uses, right? And it's usually up to the harness builder at the time that would say, well, I put them in for this reason, and I put them in for that reason. But in general, that little D-ring is mostly to run your halter shank through or decoration through to kind of keep it in place. Some of them had a decoration that come right down over the top and they would tie off in there. Some of them use it for a certain kind of a check to help keep their head up to start them, right? But on average, it's mostly just for tying off stuff like your halter shank or the kidney drop. Some of them have a bigger D-ring they use for the twin neck yoke harness in that about that same area, and the strap that comes from the britchin seat on a twin neck yoke harness is just one heavy strap that goes straight out to the neck yoke onto a little short stubby, and it'll pass through a bigger D-ring on the tug that goes through there. On D-ring harness, the tug will be split into two pieces, and it'll have a D-ring there where it attaches the two tugs together, the short tug and the long tug. And the D-ring harness will come up to there and then go from there down to the twin neck yoke. And we'll describe those in future date. I have pictures and drawings and a harness or two of that around. And my retainers have them, but the whole thing is sewn down and I cannot put my belly band through. Yeah, don't worry about it, Kate. If you need to, go ahead and add a piece over top of your on the pole strap. If there's an extra D-ring there, you can, or a space there and where your belly band goes, you can add a piece on. If your D-ring is on the pole strap itself, that's usually for holding down a decoration that you hang in the front. They use I don't know if I got some show harness with that on it or not. But they have a decoration that goes up in the front and comes back down and hangs with a small strap that buckles onto that little D-ring on the pole strap. Goes about, most of them are about in here somewhere. Right? That little D-ring. Yeah, Kate, we were going through that before. If you can't get your belly band through, don't sweat it, right? And you want to adjust it so you have short quarter straps so horses aren't kicking over them on the fly season, then just take it in, or if you're not too handy at doing it yourself, and have a piece put right where your belly band is. Just mark it with a white Jiffy marker or whatever so you know where you want it once it's all on, right? And then just have a piece put on over top. You can have it stitched or riveted or whatever you like. I rivet some of mine because it's easy, but what you can do is just stitch it down too, so it makes it like a saddle or a suitcase handle kind of idea for your belly band to go through easy. Don't stitch it so it lays flat. Stitch it when you do so there's a bit of a loop to it, and that'll make it easier for threading your belly band through. I don't know, did that get everybody answered on the little D-ring on the pole strap? Oh, yeah, it's been, oh, it's muddy here. Whew. But the snow's going, finally. Woohoo! I know the horses are tired of eating our share or fare for the winter. They don't think our feed's as good a quality as it should be now. They're going, and they're walking out, picking on the old grass, trying to look for something different. We had a lady show up with a miniature for Brian to train to drive. And then we got some saddle ponies that have been kind of held back in a backlog lately for not for any particular reason other than the weather's been just too stupid to get to them. Hello, Diana. So we got to get them through. And then we got a bunch of our own, so we'll be putting a date up here pretty quick for a colt training clinic. So if you're interested in attending a colt training clinic, send me a PM. And once we get a list, we can figure out a date for when most can come. Hi, Drake. So when most can come, and we'll get that colt training clinic started. We try to keep it, small numbers, 4 or 5 people, so everybody gets lots of hands-on training. If we try and get too many big crowds, then not everybody gets as much hands-on as they'd like. So keep, like I said, just send me a private message and get it signed up here. 74, down to 24 tonight. Yeah. Our weather isn't swinging that bad. It's, around 40 degrees during the day and then below freezing at night. Dips down to like, 30 degrees probably or so Fahrenheit. And freezes up the gravel and the mud, and then by noon it's all mussy again. Yeah, well, it's on its way. It's on its way. 100-degree temperature in the middle of August will look pretty damn hot by the time we get there, but... Hi, Rod. Hi, Trent. So, anyway, that was the one on breast strap martingale britchin adjustment. Probably one other adjustment I should mention, and I see that one kind of off quite a bit when it comes to breeching adjustments, is the top one here, right? There's a big ring at the top. They call it a spider ring because this strap, that strap, all these different straps hang off of it like a spider almost, So they call it a spider ring. And what it should be, where it should be, is just behind the points of the hip. So you take your palm of your hand. Well, that's good, Richard. You need some of that weather. You take your palm of your hand like so, and you push it around till you find the ball of the hip, and you'll find it in about this area here. So you adjust these back straps, or kidney straps are often called, so they're long enough so that D-ring is just behind the points of the hip. So you see this point of the hip here, and you feel across, and you feel the one on the other side, and you draw an imaginary line or rub your hair or finger on the skin to get a line there, and that ring should just be behind that ring or line. That much in that ballpark is good enough. If you can put your hand in behind there, it's too far back. And if it's up on that mark or forward of that mark, what it does is it eliminates the efficiency of the britchin working as a basket. If it's way forward up here, then the bum can pooch through it too far, and you lose the effectiveness of this 30%. And you throw all 100% weight on this strap. If you can keep it back so it's behind that points of that hip, that keeps this in place to allow them straps there to keep this level and to make this whole thing work at a basket. If you have this too far forward or back, right, what it has a tendency to do is throw more weight on these straps than they're designed for. You get up to 50% here and 50% here, and it'll start breaking these straps or stretching them out. So you want it to be right at that sweet spot so that you can adjust. When you do get it to that sweet spot too, you'll find these straps all are the same length and it hangs level. If this is too far forward, you end up with a short one here and a long one there to keep this level. And if you find if you move this too far back, you end up with a short one here and this one long. But if you find that one in the sweet spot up here, all these will be the same length. Even a 3-drop britchin will all be the same length. Do I think a 3-drop britchin works better? Nah. Well, I've never had a 2-drop britchin fail per se because there was backing loads on it or whatever, Richard. Most of the time when it comes to 3-drop britching, that's mostly for like parade harness or some such where you want more harness to put more bling on it. Parade harness or show harness. Lots of show harness has that 3-drop britching. Some of the older market harness or heavy freight harness that was backing big loads up alleys with loads of coal or whatever, and they use twin neck yoke harness. A lot of them use 3-drop, but mostly to help keep that britching seat level, so it would hold it here and here, so it didn't have a droop in the middle or droop on the back. It could move that lap strap back further on the britching seat to keep it held up at the back and not droop down. But as far as working better for your average Western breeching harness, no. For Western breeching harness, it's mostly just to add more decoration. More places to put spots on. But, I mean, if you're going into a parade and you want that extra bling to look sharp or whatever to reach that goal or reach in first place, well, then by all means, it's not going to hurt anything. Hi, Gordon. Hey, Joss. Oh, anyway, next week, if the weather's permitting, we're going to do an outside in the barn chat. We have some demonstrations we want to do. Talking about it in here and showing it on paper is one thing. But actually getting out and demonstrating, so, we're walking our talk, right? To show how all this stuff works and how it can't possibly bang on this or bang on that. Yeah, no problem, Gordon. I was really glad to see your pictures. You guys had quite a good time, I gather, eh? Was it for something special or just a club event, friendly thing, Gordon, or what was it? Anyway, like I said, Brian, he's got some horse massage stuff to look for to see if your horse needs some attention or if he has a stiff back or whatever. And I'm not big on doing that kind of stuff for myself, but I've been watching Brian work on horses for the last while. And we get to a place that a horse is standing there that's obviously not comfortable. And when Brian's done, the horse is standing up and he's alert and he's eating, he's walking around, he's whinnying at other horses. So, yeah, he definitely improved that horse. So he's earned my respect by watching him work on these animals. And I really think it's a worthwhile thing to pay attention to when he's describing what to watch for to see if your horse needs working on in certain areas. I'm not talking dislocated joints and backs and stuff, but strained muscles or underdeveloped muscles or stretched tendons or whatever. I mean, he's very good at it. One lady, by a freak accident, her horse got its head stuck in a tombstone feeder, and that's really hard. Tombstones are one of the ones that horses rarely get hung up on, and it ended up dragging the whole thing down into a coulee and strips. It stretched muscles and bruised itself all over. And Brian worked on that for about twice. Man, you can't hardly tell. She was driving that horse around. You can't hardly see it. So it was a club event we call Fun Day. After a long winter, it's really, yeah, for sure. For sure. Right on. Did you have a log skid and all that sort of stuff? I was looking at the pictures. Hi, Dick. Anyway, we got a bunch of colts we got to train. Some of the mares are getting close to foaling, so it'll be nice to see some green grass for them to foal out on. What else was there? 1836 Chuck Wagon races in Neches, Texas is coming up. If you guys ever want to have a blast, you should go check that out. It's on YouTube if you look up 1836 Chuck Wagon races or Moon Swanson. You'll get to that page sooner or later through the trail. I'll try and post it fairly often, so it's on April 27th, 28th, 29th, and it's a blast. You get down there, and it's an open field rodeo. Yeah, well, you never know, Kelly. Them bays and sorrels, they pay more than the blacks, but I'm a black man. But well, thank you, Susan. Yeah, the bays and sorrels pay better than the blacks. Everybody wants a bay or sorrel perch on just because they're unique, but it's not something that we expect to have happen on a regular basis. They do happen, but it's not real common. What else was there? There was something coming up I wanted to mention. Oh, well, I'll mention it next week. Any more questions on this stuff? Hi, Zach. Any more questions on this stuff? You just give her a shout and I'll give her your answer. That was my topic for today, though, was that what breaching is and what it does. Yeah, no problem, Susan. Yeah, you too, Jerry. Have a good night. Right on, Aaron. Right on. I'm glad you caught it, too. Yeah, the minor adjustment, Susan, can make a lot of difference, eh? The closer you can get that martingale pole strap thingy to come flat out from underneath the horse, the better off you are, right? And I've had guys go, oh, I bumped knees on the neck yoke then. Well, it's not because this is out of adjustment. It's because you're hooked too long and they're getting too close, right? Yeah, no problem, Kellyanne. I'm glad to see you're driving again, eh, Kelly? Hope you had fun. Team behaved for you and all the people were there that you were going to give a ride to. Eh?
That's coming up this week.
Is it? Yeah, no problem, Fred. I sure hope you have a good time down at Neches, Texas. They're good guys to travel with. Hi, Eva. Well, right on. I'm glad you caught that information. Anytime you really want to know how things properly should be adjusted, go back into the 1800s into the books, the pictures from then. You'll find that those guys made a living with their horses, and if it wasn't adjusted properly, it was, a big issue for them. So, no problem. Right on, Kelly. Hi, Susan. How were you doing up north? Staying out of trouble? Yeah, we're just about done here. It's not one of our longer chats tonight, but that don't matter. Yeah, pretty much every time you're away from a harness or a team for any length of time, it seems like things get out of a whack or adjustment. Like I said, a lot of guys will adjust a breast strap out of whack to get the pole what they figure should run uphill, but a pole shouldn't run uphill. It should run fairly flat. You just take a child and a little red wagon and lift the handle up and push back, and you'll see the wagon wants to lift up at the back end. That's because you're not in the line. If you get the handle kind of lined up with that little red wagon, you can push back a square bale on it, no problem. Hi, Nanny. How are you? Right on. Have you got any mares foaling this year, Susan? Anyway, guys, my throat's starting sore, so we'll have a good evening. Thank you all for joining us here, and I'll post the pictures of this stuff that we discussed tonight down in the comments below at the end of the chat. Right on, Susan. And oh yeah, and you're welcome to join us on the YouTube channel. You look up Hitchmasters and it'll be on there. We got a bunch of videos we post there too. I drive the boys 2-3 hours a day, 4 or 5 days a week. Sure. Yeah, no problem, Brian. That's about as kind of driving when you get to that stage where you're driving that many hours in a week that you got to start paying attention to all them little adjustments. I mean, if it's just 2 old people on a cart and you got a team, it's probably not too big a deal. But you get a wagon load with 15 or 20 kids on it, and you and the big wagon, it makes quite a difference whether you can stop them. Yeah, good night, Kate. Good night, Richard. Right on, Susan. That's good news. Yeah, good night, James. Good night, guys. Yeah, have a great weekend for what's left of you. You guys are welcome. No problem, Gord. Have a good evening, guys. Bye.